Hey everybody, Mr. Monahan here. I'm going to make a video for the 10-5 homework quiz. Now, a lot of you were frustrated with your score. I've been going through and hand grading them because of the rounding that can be so picky. So you might have had an answer that was close and you might have done it right, but rounded somewhere differently. But here's what I want to show you before we start. Here's basically what I would boil this down to. If they give you a side length, all right, so if they start you with a side length, which they do most of the, or not most of the time, but frequently, you're going to use trig to find the apothem, and it's usually going to be tangent. Okay, if they give you a radius, then we're going to use the new triangle formula from the guided notes. Now, I hope you went and checked your answers in the guided notes. I posted those in the Monday folder. All right, but let me go through these questions here. And we will, like I said, anytime they give us the radius, we're going to use the triangle formula. Anytime they give us the side length, then we're going to use tangent. Okay, so let's look at number one. Find the area of the regular polygon below. Round your answer to the nearest 10. All right, so what we have here is a pentagon. Okay, so we know n is 5. They gave us a radius this time. So 6 is this radius. So I know that r is 6. I know that n is 5. Okay, so instead of trying to find a and s, what we're going to use is the triangle formula. Okay, like we said here, if they give you the radius, we're going to use this formula. And then we're going to multiply by how many triangles that is. Okay, so let me go back and show you what I mean. So this triangle here is one of 5 triangles inside that pentagon. All right, if this is 6 feet, then this is 6 feet, by definition a radius. Okay, so I'm not going to try to figure out the apothem, the apothem and the side length. I'm not going to worry about those things. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this formula. The area of the triangle is 1/2 BC sine of A. Okay, and then what I'm going to do to find the area of the pentagon is I'm going to say what's the area of one of the triangles times how many triangles there are, which is 5. Okay. All right, so I need one more piece of information. This can be B and this can be C, but I need A. I need the angle. All right, so to get that, I need to figure out the angle up top, 360 degrees divided by how many sides there are. So this time it's 72 degrees. Okay, so 360 divided by 5 gives me that number there. So I'm going to plug this in, 1/2 BC, 6 and 6. Doesn't matter which one's B and which one's C. Sine of A is, A is 72. So I'm going to go to the calculator and punch that in. All right, so I have 1/2. I'm multiplying that times, I'm multiplying that times 6 times 6. I'm just going to type that in as 36. And then we're going to do sine of 72. Make sure your calculator is in degrees like mine is. So that's 17.12, which is the area of one triangle. Okay, that's one triangle. There are 5 triangles like that, so I'm going to take that answer and I'm going to multiply it by 5. Okay, so and this was an answer that I had to change in the answer key, by the way. I think the way I had it rounded was a little bit different, but if you put 85.6 to the nearest 10th, then you have the right answer now. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, let's see, they gave us a side length this time. Okay, so this one's a pentagon again. This one has a side length of 10. Okay. If they give you the side length, we're going to use tangent to figure some stuff out. Okay. So I'm going to look at this triangle here. All right. I know that n is 5. I'm using the 1/2 ASN formula. Okay. I don't know what A is. I'm going to figure that out, and I do know that S is 10. So all I got to do is figure out A. So here's my triangle. Let me redraw that a little bit, just as one triangle instead. All right, so here's my triangle. I just figured out from the last problem that 360 divided by 5 is 72. But when I draw this apothem in that I'm looking for, now it's a 36. Got cut in half. So this whole bottom side is 10, which I could write as like 5 and 5. So it's going to end up being tangent to figure out what A is. All right, because what I have here, I have my angle of 36. 5 is the opposite side. I'm looking for the adjacent side. So the tangent of 36 is equal to opposite over adjacent, 5 over A, what I'm looking for. So what I need to type in to find A is 5 divided by tangent of 36. Remember from chapter 8 when we talked about trig. So let me do 5 divided by tangent of 36. All right, so that's about 6.88. All right, so now I know what A is, and now I can get my answer. I'll do that right here. The area is 1/2 ASN 6.88 times 10 times 5. Okay, let me punch that in. 1/2 times 6.88 times 10 times 5 is 50. So about 172. If you rounded the same way as me, you could have put in 172.0 if you wanted, but 172 would be a good answer there. Okay. Number 3, they gave us a radius again. So this one, n is 20, r is 3. So if I draw one triangle, it's a radius problem. So this is 3 and this is 3. All right. I'm going to find the area of one triangle using this formula. 1/2 BC sine of A. All right, that's going to give me one triangle that I'm going to multiply by 20 after that. So I need this angle up top. I know it's 1/2 times 3 times 3 times sine of, that's what I need to figure out. So the way I get that angle is I do 360 divided by how many sides there are. 360 divided by 20 is what I'm looking to do this time. Okay, so when you do 360 divided by 20, you should get 18. Okay, so that means that we're doing 1/2 times 3 times 3 times sine of 8. So let's type that in. We have 1/2 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Times sine of 18. Make sure you're in degree mode. So the area of one triangle is about 1.39. We need to multiply that times 20 because there's 20 sides. So there's 20 triangles exactly that size. So about 27.8 would be our answer there. Okay. I think we have 2 left. All right, so if they give you a perimeter, it's kind of like they gave you the side. You just have to go back and find it. So the perimeter is 54. N is 18. So I know that there's 18 sides, and all 18 sides adds up to 54. So if I do 54 divided by 18, how many sides there are, that gives me 3, and that's what the side length is. Okay, so here's what I know. I'm just going to draw one triangle again. They gave me a side length of 3, not a radius, but a side length. I need to figure out the apothem. Okay, so what I just did there is I cut the 3 into two 1.5s. All right, I need to do 360 divided by 18 to figure out the angle up top. Well, that's 20, but when I draw the apothem in, the angle is actually going to be half of 20, which is 10. So I'm going to use tangent of 10. Oops, sorry about that. Tangent of 10 equal to the opposite side, 1.5, over the adjacent side, A, which I want. 1.5 over I'm sorry. Yep, that was right. 1.5 over a. Okay, so it's always going to end up being a divide problem with this tangent step if you have to do it. So 1.5 divided by the tangent of 10 will give us a. So 1.5 divided by the tangent of 10, as long as you're in degrees, gives you 8.5. So that 8.51. So that's a. A equals 8.51. Okay. Well, the area is 1/2 ASN. That's the formula that we learned. All right. A is 8.51. S is 3. N is 18. Or I could have just put the 54 back in there. All right. So I'm going to take my 1/2. Oops. I'm going to take my 1/2. I'm going to multiply it by 8.51. I'm going to multiply that by 54. 1/2 ASN. So 229.77. I would round that to 229.8 since they said nearest tenth. And the last one, this isn't a regular polygon at all. This is just the triangle itself. So be ready for questions like this on a test potentially too, where they just give you the two side lengths and the angle in between. So what we don't know is the height of this triangle. This is an alternative formula for finding the area of the triangle if you know two sides and the angle in between. All right, so it doesn't matter which one's B and which one's C. The angle has to be A. So we have 1/2 times 14 times 15 times the sine of 125. So let's punch that in and then we'll wrap it up. So we have 1/2, we have times 14 times 15 times the sine of 125. And that's always going to be sine. It's not going to change. So I would take 86.0. I would take 86. Okay. All right, hope that helps. I know your questions might end up being a little bit different, but use these as a reference to help you out.